mean, as Trudy said, I'm from Panama. I came here in 1970. Dropped out of high school, very excited, arrived in New York City. And in 1972, I think it was, I had the amazing fortune to meet with Bob Patino and Vicente Wolf. Clearly the 70s was a time of party, drugs, and disco. The entire 10 years was about all parties. And you know, Bob and Vincent and I became very close. I basically didn't do much. I worked in men's clothing store in the 70s, tried some modeling for one time. And in 1980, I was in desperate need of a job. Yes. And I remember driving back from Montauk. Vincent had a house in Montauk. And then, you know, being in a car, you know, whining and being stoned and complaining to Vincent, you know, oh, I don't know what to do, I have nothing to do. And Vincent, out of nowhere, said, listen, you know, I have this client, why don't you try doing weekly flowers for one of them? You have to understand, like you, Greek, me, Panama, never seen a flower before. I mean, it was like the furthest thing from my mind. Mrs. Scher, I remember the client in 1980. So here I was, I went to the flower market in the morning, not knowing what I was buying, you know, picking up my Casablanca lilies, which at the time, there was such a big deal. I remember, I don't know if you all remember, at the time, the Caribbean flowers was a big deal. I know. So anyway, so I walked into my apartment and doing my flowers, you know, and the client would walk in and say, Preston, those flowers are beautiful, what are they? And I would make up the names. Now again, this is a Florelia from Hawaii. So, you know, it was really an interesting time. Then Mrs. Scher's daughter was getting married 3 years later. And she suggested that I do her wedding. Of course, I didn't know how to do a bridal bouquet. I don't know if you all know who the late Robert Isabel that just passed away. I remember getting on the phone and calling Robert. It's Robert, how do you do a bridal bouquet? I had no idea how to do that. But at the same time, unbeknown to me, the 80s was a time of abundance. I was lucky enough to get a job with Christie's Galleries, and you remember there was a lot of monies around, and you know we started doing all of these the events, and you know really doing a lot of flower over the top work, which you know it sort of started there. So the 80s, of course, I struggled and tried to make my own design, so to speak. One of the things that I was always very careful in that choosing the best flowers quality, the best quality flowers in the market and so forth. Anyhow, so of course, here we are in all of this abundance. And in the 90s came a recession. And Martha Stewart happened, if you remember the god. I think she's my goddess, by the way, I love her. Have you noticed she's much nicer since she got out of jail? She's like much more mellow, you know. I love her though, but anyhow, so here we go, Martha doing a singular flower thing, and you're Preston Bailey being like over the top. So it was a very difficult time at the beginning of 1995. In 1996, I heard that Joan Rivers was trying to hire a florist to do Melissa's wedding. And I remember at the time really running with that one. I said, I'm going to get this job regardless. And I remember Joan walking into the office once, and she said something to me that I thought established my entire business. She said, I want, when the guests walk into the event, it looks like they went to the opera, and the curtain just opened. And that drama that you get, that is what I want for Melissa's wedding. That piece of advice, I think I took it, and I've taken it to the other extreme, so to speak, within my work. Clearly, Joan was a great support. She's still a friend today. She's going to plan my wedding next year. You know, Joan is being there, and of course, Joan took me to opera. And once you went to an opera, and everything started happening. Needless to say that up to in 2001, I believe it was, 2001 and 2002, Preston Bailey Design was $1.5 million in debt. So even though here was a war that I had this product, so to speak, what was the product? The product was creating these events that people walk in and they faint. I basically don't know how to charge. I had no clue, and I mean, I think it's one of the biggest problems, and as designers and as people that you're starting your businesses, be very aware on how you charge for your services. I've learned a great deal. There's a gentleman here, by the way, by the name of Sean Law, by the way, that I hired back in 2002, I think it was, and basically he taught the importance of having a product, which is important. How do you do what you do best within a company and allow other people to do the things that you don't like doing, like for instance the budgeting and so forth. One of the things that I've learned in the business that I do, that there's two jobs that I do. One of them is sales, meeting the clients, impressing them, asking them questions. And I find, by the way, that one of the biggest lessons for me is dealing with these clients, and I learn a great deal from them. I think these are very wealthy people, they've been around, they're sophisticated. The trick is also, I think, the trick is learning to find out what is it you want to sell them, and how you want to sell them. I am one of those designers that takes the long way. Usually whenever I have a client, I usually give them 3 different designs. I usually find that whenever you invest the time and the energy, whenever they come in, they're going to like one of them. I usually make the sale. And the good thing is that sometimes they'll like that one, and there are elements of the others that they like also, so you end up upselling. But the sales, I think, is a very important part of my business, and that's one of the things that I do myself. Another portion, of course, as you discussed, is having a product. And what does that product look like? And the importance of it, the texture of it. Do you enjoy doing it? I happen to be a very over-the-top kind of a person. You know, I prefer having, 10,000 roses than 10. I mean, I love the idea of bringing nature. I mean, nature is very generous in the event business, and I like the idea of bringing that feeling indoors. And a lot of people think it's tacky, but fuck them. Excuse me, camera. I say that with love. But at the same time, for me, I think it's a very dramatic thing to walk into the space that you're involved with this beauty and that is overwhelming. I think what has kept me going for so many years, which is, 30-something, is constantly trying to reinvent myself, trying to see what I could do differently. Besides from the events that we do, that each one of them are differently, from a business point of view, what can you bring to your brand that has a different twist, that is a little bit interesting? And I see it very much as an evolving business. I mean, we're certainly getting into an area that I never thought I would be in, and testing, might it be TV or might it be products that expand from the design world. And for me, I think the joy is basically, it's not what I'm putting out there, but also what I'm learning as I'm going along. Thank you so much.